Hey guys, Logan here from Popular Woodworking Magazine. So up until last year, in my opinion, there has not been a great alternative for a table saw fence. Whether you bought a vintage saw and it was missing a fence, the fence on your saw is just not accurate and kind of getting sloppy, or you just wanted to upgrade it. So last year at AWFS, Harvey introduced their Big Eye Rip fence. And I want to show you some of the features that make it really unique and why I am using it in my shop, because I think it's one of the best fences that I've used. So the biggest thing I think that makes this fence different than other T-style fences, some people would call them a Biesmeyer style fence because Biesmeyer was the ones that really kind of popularized that design, is that this is a two-rail design. So we have a rail on the user side of the saw, and we also have a rail on the back side of the saw. So between those two, this fence is completely secured rather than having a tail that kind of flops back and forth. And I'm sure you know what I mean. When you adjust your fence and you lock it down, that tail swings either in or out. So it's always kind of a guessing game where everything's going. So that dovetail system on that backside really locks it in place. And one of the other things I really like is that this front rail has a set of bearings inside the fence and hardened rails that the fence rides on. So this thing slides extremely smoothly, and when you lock it down, there is no movement at all, either from the locking or once it's locked down. I mean, this thing is not moving, which is really awesome. There's a couple other features that I really like about this fence that I think make it unique. First is it uses this aluminum high-low style fence. Now, anybody in Europe will kind of recognize this style of fence because it is popular overseas. Not so much here, but it is really cool. So right now this is in the high position. I have this, probably 3.5, 4 inch tall fence. But by loosening these knobs on the back, I can slide this fence off. And you can see there's a bar here that slides into this track on the fence. Now, it slides in this back track when it's in the high position, but when I lay it over, there is a track on the bottom side as well. So now we have a low style fence. And this is really cool in case you are cutting thin parts, small parts, you want to get your hand closer to the fence. It's just a great little option to have. Let's switch this back into high mode quick. Now, one of the other things I like about having this adjustable fence is the fact that you can actually set this fence up, let's say in this position. So now, if I were making cuts with the miter gauge, I can use my fence as a stop to set the length of my parts, and then as I start the cut, the part is free from the fence on the backside, so you're not running into a pinching problem that can be potentially dangerous. Now, one of the other things that kind of seems minor, but once you start using it, it really makes a world of difference, is the fact that the lock handle for this fence is on top of it. So you know how most fences, at least T-style fences, have the handle underneath, and you can kind of bump into them with your hip as you're working. This one's on top, and I just honestly don't know why more fence styles are not like this, because now it's up and out of the way, it is quick and convenient to adjust it, and it just really works. So part of what I really like down here at the fence are a couple of features. The first is this glass, and this is truly glass. So most fences that you'll see on new saws at least have a plastic viewfinder that help you line up the indices with your ruler that's underneath. But this is truly glass, so it doesn't have any distortion. So as you're looking down at it, where you see that line is where it actually is, which is really nice. Now, still on the fence portion here, we have these little covers, and these are for adjusting the bearings that ride down here in the track. So you can really fine tune this for a perfect fit, which I really like. It just rolls really nicely and smooth. So now let's slide that out of the way and take a look down here. We have this scale. Now, this isn't uncommon to have a scale on a fence, but one of the cool things is because we can change this fence from that high to low setting, that would make this inaccurate. But Harvey has kind of taken care of that by having the ability to slide this fence over to a secondary stop. This stop here says high, the one on my right says low. So you just flip that fence back and forth and it compensates for this fence being in the high position or the low position. So I'm gonna move it back to the high position before I forget. So then down here underneath, we have these little flip stops. So if you are doing a lot of the same measurements here at the table saw, you can set these so that they're positive stops. So you can slide the fence until it contacts those, and then you know you're gonna hit that exact measurement every time. While we're still here on the fence rail, we have these stops here, and that keeps this from sliding off. Because this does slide so nice and smooth, it would be really easy just to kind of throw it off the end of the saw. But that, as a stop, keeps it from going anywhere, which is really nice. Now, while I have this fence slid this way, there's one other feature that is just spot on that I think really makes this different. And that is this fine adjustment wheel. So what we have most of the time on a table saw is you're trying to dial in a measurement, or you've made a cut and you need to nudge the fence just a little bit, and we're doing one of these things where we're just kind of tapping the fence left and right. And it works, but it is not what I would call precise. But this fine adjustment wheel here is just a rubber wheel. It rides on top of this rail here and use the friction to ever so slightly adjust this fence. And it works so well, and I don't know why nobody else has put this on a fence in the past. So I don't think that I am lying when I say that this is definitely the nicest fence I have ever used. Now, it is not a cheap upgrade to your table saw, but I think it's an upgrade that you will be very, very happy with. The engineering and the machining on this is pretty much flawless. Now, this is a universal fit. I installed it here on my saw stop. I'm sure it fits on Harvey's own table saws. And you might just have to drill and tap your saw to get this one to fit. But if you're looking to upgrade your table saw fence with something more accurate and more user-friendly, definitely look at the Big Eye Rip fence from Harvey. I think you'll be extremely happy with it.